Hello, this is Francisco with KNAC.com, the loudest.com on the planet. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetalXCandy. Coming up, I had an opportunity to sit down with Rob Halford and discuss his upcoming release, Celestial, due out on October 18th. We're going to throw you right into the thick of it. Here's the conversation we had. Enjoy.
KNAC is one of the only radio stations that I know of where you'll go around anywhere in the world and people will have a KNAC t-shirt on.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
I don't know whether they have, I don't know whether they have .com, but there used to be a plain black t-shirt, I've probably still got one, that had KNAC on, and that was it. That was just like the shirt. It's like a Motorhead shirt or a Metallica shirt.
Yeah, I think that's especially wonderful, like that KNAC is still on the minds of a lot of people. You know, KNAC, out here in Los Angeles and like Long Beach, that was a staple for metal and hard rock. That was all we
I think
had.
it was the first station that really catered exclusively to this kind of musical experience. It was very, very important because nobody else was playing it at one point.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that I had to go off the air, but like you mentioned, it's like still an online presence, and so, that's why we're here. We're trying to spread the word that LA doesn't have to succumb to like the radio stations that only play the pop and commercial stuff, like the same 10 songs 20 times a day. It's like KNAC is still out there, and we have you to thank for it because honestly, like KNAC was a big supporter of you and
Absolutely.
you of them as well, and
Absolutely.
helped you out with the Judas Priest
I've
days.
always said that one of the biggest thrills a musician can have is to hear yourself played on the radio, no matter what the source, because firstly, you're not the only person that's listening at that moment in time. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and in this case, .com could be millions of people listening to your song at that moment in time, and it's still a thrill. I still get a rush from hearing Priest on KNAC or any format where it's an open audience. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I think like anytime a Judas Priest or a Halford song comes on the radio, you can't help but the metal.
You
face.
do that. You put your horns up without you knowing it.
Yeah.
It's instinct.
Yeah, and you scream outside your car window. It's like, yeah, breaking the law. Yeah. And we have Beavis and Butthead to thank for that too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like iconic, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
That was a great time, really. It's a different world now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I miss a lot of that, but I'm also excited about the opportunities that this double-edged sword called the internet has created, particularly for musicians now. I have a lot of friends who say, how can I get my song out there? I said, firstly, just stick it on the internet, because you don't know who is listening to your music or who is scouring for new talent at any time, 24/7. And it's not just your country. You could get a call from anywhere in the world that might be interested in your band, So it's very, very valuable for getting the message across.
And then I don't think it's so much a point to have to be in LA now. Everybody
No,
wants
you
to fly.
don't. Absolutely.
You can be anywhere in the world, and
Yeah. It's kind of reminiscent to when I always think of this story when the Beatles became famous. Prior to that, everybody had thought you had to go to London to become successful. And then when the Beatles came along and they still lived in Liverpool, that opened up a tremendous door of people like, so we're not going to go, move house to London. We're going to stay where we are here in our case in the Midlands, So it's the same thing, but advance it a few decades.
And out there, like in England and like overseas, there was a big scene brewing on its own. Who knows if you had come over here, if it would have had the same effect. I guess we'll never know. But you mentioned the Beatles, of course, Black Sabbath, and the new wave of British heavy metal. Like it's just that genre in itself was just, I think, a big integral part in the metal as a whole.
That new wave period, new wave of British heavy metal that was the catalyst to metal going global, because there was an audience waiting to kind of dial themselves into the metal experience in all of its different genres. Even at that stage, metal was quite diverse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Priest was there. Not that far away from it's debatable when did the new wave of British heavy metal start, but Priest was there probably a good 3, 4, 5 years before that moment tipped in, and I remember being in the midst of all that, and it was a thrill.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I could only imagine. Like I think to myself, is like I grew up in the wrong decade, and I'm about like 10, maybe 20 years too late on the scene, and like I wish I would have grown up around that time, even the days of the Sunset Strip in its heyday. I wish I was around that and to take it all in, because I'm hearing it now from like decades later from, thankfully from people like you and artists that are like, oh, they tell the stories all day. You can just put a microphone to them and like they could tell stories all day.
We got a lot of stories.
A lot of stories. Yeah.
I'm grateful that I was able to go to the Isle of Wight and watch Jimi Hendrix play live.
Oh wow.
And then the Who. And unbeknownst to me, in the same field over on the other side was Ian Hill. He was there. There was barely a Judas Priest. So all of these kind of really crazy and mystical connections with music from the past. I know what you're saying, and again, because a band like Priest was there right from the beginning, the creation of metal, and we were able to draw on the inspiration of people like Hendrix or Eric Clapton, Cream, King Crimson, Court of the Crimson King, Edgar Broughton, Groundhogs. Oh, there's just so many. John Mayall's Blues Breakers, because metal has its heart in the blues.
Right.
I'm grateful that I was able to grow up in the ranks of that time frame.
Yeah, it totally influenced you, and brings you where you are today now. And now you're influencing generations and generations to come, and I think
that's the beautiful thing about music, and you don't even know that it's doing that stuff until you speak to friends that point out this record or that show. And I always say, that's great, man, and what you're doing is being watched by the next bunch of musicians. It's like carrying the flame, to some extent. You pass it from one generation to the next.
Right. Just real quick, I know people are tuning in and they're like, oh, who are these two people talking randomly? Like, I recognize that one voice, I just don't know the other guy's voice. You are listening to KNAC.com, the loudest.com on the planet, still in existence, still kicking your ass. I'm Francisco. I'm fortunate to be here with the metal god himself, Rob Halford. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be with KNAC again. We go way, way back. So it's good to talk with you guys. Hi, everybody that's listening. I hope we're giving you some cool vibes out there.
Yes. Let's talk about those vibes now. You're fresh off the Firepower tour, a successful tour. We were fortunate to catch that as well, and it was an amazing show. And thank you from all of us.
Thank you.
We're here today to talk about Celestial.
Yeah.
Your new winter hymns, a collection of hymns, if I'm saying that correctly, like all these collection of classic, and we're talking like classic, like 16th century type of songs that you revamped.
Beautiful. All
these Christmas carols, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the story of the way Celestial created goes back a little bit further than the actual record itself. My brother Nigel has been playing drums for a long, long time. He's got this really cool band, kind of indie rock band. They've been together 28 years. I saw he put a Facebook post of an old picture. I'm like, oh my God, your band Voodoo Sue. You've been together for 28 years. And so this is the band that my brother's been working with for that long, and he's been drumming obviously for 28 years. But it's a band that just plays local gigs. All the guys come home from work, get changed, put a bit of leather on or whatever, have some food, go and jam, go to work the next morning at 7 a.m. And that is at the heart of the music of Celestial. This is really kind of an homage to all of these musicians all over the world that do this. They just do it for the simple, pure joy and love of making music, which I think is just great. It's just a purest form. And when any band gets together, you get together just for that reason. You love the way the music sounds, and you love the way the music makes you feel. So that was at the heart of putting this idea together. So about 2 years ago, I think it was, I was with family back in the UK. I was having some food with my brother, and I said, I would love to find an opportunity where we could play together. He's like, oh my God, that would be. I said, let me think about it. And then this idea of, because it was the holiday season, I thought, well, maybe we should do this, because that would be a great platform for the guys to show off their great skill, because they're very talented musicians. And then at the holidays, there's always some music played, right, in the background, or you sing along, whatever it might be. And so I said to my brother, here's this idea, what do you think? And he, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And so that's how the whole essence of the record came into being. And so we picked a bunch of songs, and I said, look, I'm doing the Firepower tour and the record and everything. This is your album, this is your music. You do what you want. Here's some ideas for songs. If we can get some original material as well, that'd be great. And then I left them to it, So it took about, the project itself to complete was about 2 years, not solidly, but in and out. Because the guys would have to come home from work and run into the studio for an hour and then go home and go to work the next day. It was made in that kind of that kind of journey. So yeah, it's just a beautiful way of making music, and really sending out a strong thank you to musicians like this who just play music for the sheer love and joy of the experience.
Yeah, I think it's very important to maintain that love for music and playing music, and like you said before, like share that experience with somebody. I think that's more important, sharing it with somebody.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
People that, because those are songs that, like they count. I think one of the most covered songs, like these songs have been like covered years and years and years.
Yes.
And, like, everybody, and what I had a chance to listen to it, and I love how you put your own twist and take on it. The group that you worked with, and like you put your own twist and take, but at the same time you still kind of keep it true.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of these were originals, right? Like in some form.
Yeah, the original. There's 3 originals. Donner and Blitzen, which has been out for a while now. It's just a great rocking, roaring song.
That's the video you put out too.
Yeah, that's right. We've got Morning Star, which is a really kind of light, delicate, not delicate, but it's a whole different atmosphere going on there. And then at the back end, we've got Protected by the Light, which is just a nice little way of wrapping up the whole celestial experience. But it's true, songs like O Little Town of Bethlehem and Hark the Herald Angels Sing, Joy to the World, they've all been covered.
Right.
But this is the great thing about great songs. Great songs live forever, as you pointed out. Some of these songs go back centuries, and yet they're still part of our holiday time experience. What is special is the magic of the way that the guys have made the arrangements happen. Because you think of the song Away in a Manger, well, everybody, you just close your mind and close your eyes and think of the melody of Away in a Manger, and you know it instantly. But when you hear it the way the guys have arranged it, it brings a whole new experience to the story. And that was important, I was just surprised after surprise after surprise when they kept sending me the demos as it was. Are we doing it right? You don't need me. It's just great. You just keep doing it, and that's their expertise and the great production of Mike Exeter, who just come off the Sabbath 13 album and the Firepower album. So it really was a beautiful effort by everybody.
Yeah, totally. And you mentioned Morning Star. That was like one of my favorite tracks on there. Just the way it was put together, and you feel it. It's real. Like, and a lot of these songs you feel like you really comes across like into the speaker. Another one. You mentioned some of the songs. I mentioned some other titles of the songs. Deck the Halls. Yeah. That's like the most metal, like la 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 la. Like, yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait for these people for everyone to hear it. You're gonna really enjoy it. Like, especially if Christmas is like all your in your bag. Like, you'll really love it. And that's one of them. I was like la 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 la.
I love that song. The way it breaks down into the heavy Birmingham riff.
Yeah.
It gets really really heavy, and I'm like, this is great. Because guys. It's going to say Halford, and people are going to think Metal God, and it's so cool to have the metal in this celestial release.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, you really show off, like, your vocals are like, above the head of the class, and like, when you hear your voice, like, you recognize that's like Rob Halford.
Thank you.
And like one of the songs, was it the first Noel? No, I always have
Yeah.
a hard time saying that. That
Yeah.
one, your vocals are like, my God.
It's an interesting track, that is, because for a vocalist, there's a the key is so important. Singers know what I mean if you're listening to us speak, and I'm sure you are, singers out there. When you've got to find the right key, and the key that we're singing First Noel, which is a very stripped down performance. It's just voice and church organ. If you really listen to me, I'm on the verge of going into, not exactly the painkiller voice, but I'm on the verge of going into a more of an extreme performance. And it was so difficult not to go to that place. I really had to control everything. If you really listen to the breathing and the focus on the words, you can tell he's almost gasping for air, and I say that in a fun way because, you know, it's July, and I'm singing a Christmas song, and I'm in a barn on a farm in the English countryside, and I'm also trying to get a Christmas vibe in my head. You know, making music is all of these beautiful illusions, not in a fake way, but the illusion and fantasy of escaping in music is so important, and you have to make that real. I know that sounds crazy. How do you make fantasy and illusion real? But that's what you have to do. As a musician, that's what you're making. This music is this wonderful stuff that comes out of the speakers, and it's pure escape, you know. So all that's going on. I mean, God, listen to me talk. I overthink so much stuff, and I'm just fucking sing it, dude. Okay, you know, for the 50th time. But that was a great track, and it was important to have that track on this record because there's a lot of emotion on various kind of spiritual faith-based lessons that are places that are important to me. So and I hope that comes across as well in the whole mix of the Celestial songs.
That was going to be my next question, I guess. I guess were you brought up religious, like with like
No.
these songs, kind of part of your upbringing, or?
No, they weren't. I mean, these particular tracks. I mean, you know, everybody goes to church around the holidays. At least we do in the UK, and we hear these songs in the real traditional form, which is a thrill. But no, the British way is pretty conservative even now. You know, there's always been something like this, a faith-based thing about, you know, right from wrong, good from bad. You know, which I think is important regardless. But there was never any kind of pushing us as kids into that type of experience, where in some cases, for me, speaking as Rob Halford, I think it's too extreme, way too extreme, especially if you're a kid, because kids are delicate instruments, delicate vessels, and to push kids into something that doesn't feel right for them or that they don't like doing, that's when you create a lot of, you know, confusion. So we never really had that in the family, apart from the basic tenets. You know, you don't lie, you don't do this, you don't do that. A lot of it's common sense. But I think for me, probably as I've gotten older, because I just turned 68. I'm not being pessimistic here, folks, but listen, dude, I'm 68. I'm going to keep going till I can, you know, I ain't going to quit. But mortality suddenly starts to appear in your life, you know, and you're thinking about stuff you weren't thinking about in your 20s or your 40s, you know. So all of that comes into play as well, and that side of me is important, particularly since I've been clean and sober. I need the backup and support of something bigger than me, and that's what I've got with these songs and the other stuff that's going on in my life.
Congratulations on the sobriety, man. That's a really great
Thank you,
thing.
man. Yeah, I wish I could drink. I wish I could have a smoke and all that, you know, do a line. I wish I could do all that, but I can't.
You don't want to.
I can't. I've done all that, and it nearly killed me, you know. I wish I could do that because, you know, I'm with my friends and they're having a good time, and, you know, there's this little devil on your shoulder going, just have a quick shot, do a shot of Jack, you know.
Man.
And that's, for those of us that are in recovery, and I know that there are people listening to us in KNAC that are probably in recovery, that's the biggest temptation of all, you know, is dealing with the little devil on your shoulder or the monkey on your back. So when you get clean and sober, for musicians, particularly from my journey, is the greatest gift that I was ever given, because it was a gift. Can't do this by myself. There's another source helping, and that's just, you know, a thrill to share with the music at this point.
Totally. And I know a lot of people that have like struggled with their demons, so to speak, and when they look to you and say like, oh, that guy's been sober for, you know, a long time, you know, like I'll just look to him. He'll guide the way, and you know, and whether you're a person of faith too, I mean, that certainly helps a lot of people as well. But
we talk about that more openly now. It was never really a discussion. I read something really nice that Jacoby said from Good Charlotte the other day, you know, talking about his beliefs. Well, good for you, dude, you know, nothing to be afraid of. You know, there used to be a time when you didn't go into that kind of discussion, you know, but now it's important. Bands pull up, the guys pull out the weights from under the bus, you know, and they work out before stage. It's great, and they drink gallons and gallons of water and do a lot of other cool stuff. You know, you've got to look after your body, especially when you're touring, because if you don't, it's going to catch up with you, and it's going to interfere with your ability as a musician.
Well, I guess we're about out of time, which is unfortunate. Time went by so fast.
It did go by.
Just like in your career, I'm sure. Like
especially with me flapping my lips like I do.
But again, this is KNAC.com, the loudest.com on the planet. Rob Halford. Check out Celestial, October 19th. October 18th.
October 18th. Hey, dude, let's try and get it to the top of the Billboard's holiday season chart. Wouldn't that be great to have a metal album at the top of the Billboard?
A Christmas metal album.
Yeah, you don't have to sell 1 million records, just a few thousand. So let's put some metal at the top of the Billboard holiday charts. That'd be really cool.
We'll do it, man. That's
my plug.
We'll spread that. Out. Thanks a lot again for your
time. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, KNAC. It's been a blast.
And I am Francisco, otherwise known as Metal X Candy. And thanks for listening.